Imagine this. A single email arrives in someone's inbox. It looks official, urgent, and carries the authority of a CEO or trusted partner. Within hours of opening it, $50 million are gone, vanished into a maze of international accounts. This isn't a Hollywood cyber thriller. It's one of the simplest, yet most devastating crimes in modern finance. This is the story of the $50 million email scam that fooled banks, employees, and entire companies, and how it exposed the terrifying vulnerability hidden in everyday communication. In the landscape of cybercrime, one scheme stands out. Business Email Compromise, or BEC. Unlike the flashy hacks seen in movies, BEC doesn't require lines of code or supercomputers. It requires patience, research, and psychological manipulation. The criminal doesn't need to break into your system. They just need to make you believe they belong there. By disguising themselves through carefully crafted messages, they manipulate people into moving money willingly, often without realizing until it's far too late. The way these schemes operate is deceptively simple. Criminals begin by registering domains that look almost identical to legitimate ones. A single letter changed, a symbol inserted, or even a capital I swapped for a lowercase l can make a fake email address almost indistinguishable from the real thing. To an employee under stress or rushing to complete a transaction, the difference is nearly impossible to spot. The second step is surveillance. Criminals scour press releases, monitor social media, and research executive travel schedules. They learn exactly when a CEO is out of town, when financial teams are closing the books, or when a company is distracted by major events. Then comes the strike, an email that looks urgent and confidential, a message that tells an employee to act immediately, to wire funds without hesitation, and to keep it discreet. In a matter of minutes, millions of dollars can move at the click of a button. One of the most infamous cases of BEC occurred in 2019 and cost a European aerospace company over $50 million. The criminals posed as the company's CEO, sending emails that perfectly mimicked his communication style. Over weeks, they exchanged messages with the finance department, pretending to be in sensitive negotiations with an overseas supplier. Each message built trust, reinforced the illusion, and prepared the employees for the final order. When the decisive email arrived, it carried the weight of authority. The instructions were clear. Transfer more than $50 million to close the deal. Believing they were following their CEO's orders, the employees complied. By the time the real CEO returned from his trip, the money was gone, funneled through a chain of international accounts designed to erase any trace. What makes this story even more devastating is that the transfer wasn't technically illegal. The bank followed the customer's instructions exactly as given. Because the authorization came from within the company, recovery was nearly impossible. For the criminals, it was a perfect crime. For the company, it was a financial and reputational disaster. Executives resigned, shareholders demanded answers, and employees were left shaken by the realization that they had been manipulated into helping orchestrate one of the largest email scams in history. The emotional toll of this scam was as heavy as the financial loss. Imagine being the employee who clicked send on that transfer. The guilt, the shame, the fear of losing your job, these are scars that remain long after the money is gone. Many victims of BEC don't speak publicly, not just because of legal consequences, but because of embarrassment. No one wants to admit they were tricked by something as ordinary as an email. But that silence allows these crimes to spread, preying again and again on unsuspecting targets. Why did this scam work so effectively? The answer lies in psychology. Criminals know that authority, urgency, and fear override rational thinking. When an email appears to come from a superior, especially during high-pressure situations, employees are conditioned to obey. Add in a sense of secrecy, this deal is confidential, don't tell anyone, and the victim feels both the responsibility and the burden of compliance. It wasn't that the employees were careless, it was that they were human, and the scam was engineered to exploit exactly that. This case isn't an isolated incident. Business email compromise has become one of the costliest forms of cybercrime worldwide. According to the FBI, BEC scams have drained more than $43 billion from businesses and institutions since 2016. Yes, billion with a B. The victims are not just large corporations. Schools, hospitals, charities, and even local governments have been targeted. In some cases, nonprofits lost donations meant to feed children. Hospitals lost money needed for patient care. Cities lost funds earmarked for critical infrastructure. The scale is massive, and the consequences ripple far beyond a single balance sheet. So, what lessons can we learn from the $50 million email scam? The first is that verification saves millions. Every urgent request for a wire transfer should be double-checked through a second channel. If an email says to transfer money, confirm by calling the executive directly or using an official phone line. The second lesson is awareness. Employees need training to recognize the subtle differences in fake domains, unusual phrasing, or suspicious urgency. A single glance at the sender's address could expose a fraud. The third lesson is process. Companies must implement dual approvals for large transactions. No one person should ever have the power to move millions alone. And the fourth lesson is perhaps the simplest. Slow down. Scammers thrive on panic. They want you to rush, to act before you think. Taking a moment to pause, breathe, and review could be the difference between safety and disaster. The $50 million email scam was more than a heist. It was a wake-up call for businesses around the world. It revealed that the weakest link in modern security isn't firewalls or encryption, it's people. And that doesn't mean people are failures. It means that criminals understand how to exploit trust, authority, and fear better than most organizations know how to defend against them. But awareness changes the equation. By telling these stories, by pulling back the curtain on how these crimes unfold, we can arm people with knowledge. And knowledge, in this case, is the strongest defense. As we look back on this case, one thing becomes clear. The line between ordinary communication and catastrophic loss is razor thin. A single email, a single rushed decision, can drain accounts and destroy reputations. But with vigilance, training, and simple verification, these scams can be stopped. The lesson of the $50 million scam is not just that criminals are clever, it's that prevention is possible. And the responsibility belongs to all of us, employees, leaders, and individuals alike. This story is a reminder that in a digital world, not everything is as it seems. The next message in your inbox could be harmless, or it could be the one that costs everything. What you do in that moment, the pause you take, the question you ask, the call you make, could be the difference between safety and disaster. Because in the age of business email compromise, the simplest weapon isn't a virus or a hack. It's a story written in plain text, waiting for someone to believe it. And that's why awareness, more than anything else, is the key to keeping our money, our companies, and our futures safe.